Probably the hardest time I've laughed in like recent memory. This is a while back. It was right before I left New York. Me and Nick Mullen were hanging out, and we were driving around, losing our fucking minds because we were both thinking about moving to New York. We went to an arcade and just put like $100 into one of those coin toss machines where you drop coins and try to win points, and so you can win tickets, so you can win like a boombox or whatever. I mean, he just put like a fucking hundo in that thing and looked at me and then just with madness in his eyes held his finger down on the button that just spends the money you put into it. And it was like, what are we doing? You know, we were super keyed up and super manic, and and so we ended up winning, a million tickets and spent like fucking half the money we'd saved to move to New York because we were freaking the fuck out. And we didn't have enough money to buy, or enough tickets to buy anything good. So we walked up to the counter and he just went, just give me all vampire teeth. And so like this poor teenager working at this place had to, count out all these tickets and then divide it by, vampire teeth cost like 2 tickets or some shit. So, they had to go in the back and like open new boxes, just these cardboard boxes that had just come off the truck of vampire teeth and shit. And then we just left with a garbage bag full of vampire teeth. And I guess the idea was we were going to throw them, off the stage at this show we were doing that night. So then we were driving around, and we're just like, fucking mentally fried. And he started doing this, one of these dumb characters. That if you're not familiar with Nick Mullen, he's a funny guy, and he just slips into these weird characters from time to time. So we're driving behind a BMW on the highway, and he just starts going, well, Mr. BMW. And we both start doing it. We both just slip into this weird redneck character. And just this slighted, person who's just offended by this big city BMW just going, well, goddamn, Mr. BMW. Just over and over and over again, just kind of like chewing on a toothpick, staring out the window, slipping into this absurd joke. The type of joke you get into on a road trip doesn't really quite make sense, but you both get it, Mr. BMW, right? So what happened next is that we went to the show, or we showed up to the venues at Spider House Ballroom in Austin, Texas, and
so the idea came from another comic and activist, actually, Caitlin Marone, here in New Orleans. She's the shit. But basically, she got pulled over a couple times in the same night and harassed by cops for having a brake light out in Florida, I believe. And then kind of came up with this idea of like, hey, what if socialists just changed people's brake lights for free to try and cut down on the interactions with the police, and at the same time used it as a method to sort of consolidate working class people to work together on a project that confronts state violence.
Sure, that's a good summation, I'd say.
Yeah, I talk about it a lot.
Sure, yeah, you got your elevator pitch. That makes sense. So
just imagine actually pitching that to someone in an elevator, and I'm just being like, "What the fuck are those words?"
Yeah, it's David Letterman, and you forgot what the fuck you're supposed to be doing. So one thing I remember kind of talking about when we were driving to Baton Rouge was that, and you sort of hinted at that just now. Is something that is interesting and not entirely universal, but a lot of people are finding themselves to have in common right now, which is that you were sort of one of the people before leftist politics, became within the Overton window and became sort of accessible and okay to talk about. Somebody who had already been sort of left. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, less active. I think there was like a pretty long period in my life. Sorry, I'm letting my cat in right now. Yeah,
I
where
walk away and there's just another crane over here, so I can't.
Yeah, it sounded like there were birds or something where you are. Now she's trying to bite my food. This is great podcasting. But yeah, there was a pretty long period in my life where I just kind of like tried to get the apathy unsuccessfully. Um, and I wasn't really doing anything to help the world, but I guess I've always leaned like pretty far left. I got like hippie parents, kind of discovered like anarchist ideas at a very young age, and hated George Bush so much, man. I was an angsty teen who fucking hated Bush.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's the origin for a lot of us, I think.
Yeah, for sure. There was like the Republican National Convention was in St. Paul in 2008, where I'm from, and the cops beat the shit out of everybody, and it's like to protect, you know, just this group of shitty Republicans. It was pretty awful scene, and it radicalized a lot of people.
I bet. I mean, I grew up in Texas, so he was definitely, you're either with him or against him, and if you were not insane, you were against him. Um, but I also remember like back then, it's weird because you could pretty easily look at the big picture and go, "Oh, this guy seems bad. He's starting a war and shit." But I wasn't that well read when I was a kid, and I didn't really know like a lot of times the specifics of you know why he was so bad. But I remember back then, all the cool comedians hated Bush, and all the cool like punk bands did. And so, on some level, you just trusted. No Effects must know what they're talking about, and it's really weird now because I don't think No Effects knows what the fuck they're talking about at all. Um,
But when you're 13, it's good guidance.
yeah, it was a buoy in the water, definitely.